Welcome back to the Mail Right Show. We were so impressed with this guy on episode number 316. We had to immediately, as fast as we could, get him back on the show. And we were really lucky he had the opening in his schedule to come hang out with us for a little while. Today, we're meeting with Jimmy Burgess, second time. And we're going to talk about 7 great ways to get listings in, I'm going to add this in maybe 2021, but I'm just going to say 7 great ways to get listings. So, Jimmy, with no further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, Robert, let me just say this. So you and Jonathan, I appreciate you. Listen, anybody can get on one time. For y'all to invite me back, I mean, that feels pretty special. So I really appreciate y'all.
You should be so impressed, Jimmy. You're one of a handful of guests that are even prepared to come back. Or we've asked. Normally, one session between me and Robert is enough for most of our guests.
Sadly, true.
I'm hoping I get the full, y'all don't like, if I get to like the third point of this and y'all are like, okay, we got to wrap, then I'm going to know, I got 1.5 at least. I mean, maybe I just, I didn't run it, but I got at least 1.5. But no, I'm excited to be here. Listen, I love to be able to share some of these ideas. And one of the things we were talking about was an article and a video I recently did for Inman, where I was just talking about some of these, really the 7 simple steps to getting more listings. And in reality, Robert, it really doesn't matter whether it's 2021, 2022. This is pretty much an evergreen type of plan of action. And so without further ado, I'll just kind of jump right into this. The first thing is obviously you got to build yourself a database full of homeowners. So whatever that looks like for you, however,
Let's give John a second to introduce himself, and then we're going to switch back over to you. Jonathan, sir, if you would. Well, actually, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's heard the show before knows that I've always give a big drum roll for Jonathan. He is my amazing host, co-host, whatever you want to call it, but really he does all the magic and the lights and the sound effects and the special effects. It's all John. So he also happens to run a really great real estate marketing company of his own. He's a WordPress expert. Lots of value to be had in having a conversation with this guy. Lord knows he
can we get on with it, Robert? You don't have to puff me anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's enough.
Sure, go for it.
I'm the founder of MailRight. We build WordPress websites for real estate agents. You own them. You don't lease them. Plus, we provide a host of marketing tools and functionality inbuilt in our superb WordPress websites. If that sounds interesting, go over to the website and you can have a free demo. Over to you, Robert.
No. Now, Jimmy, we're going to let you do what Jimmys do. Take it away, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Really what I'm going to do is I just want to go through these individually. I'm going to hit the high spots of each of these. And then if y'all, want to stop me at any point and just talk about any of these, please just let me know. But I want to hit the highlights to start with.
Stop you, Jimmy? Is that possible, Jimmy?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I know. So the first thing we want to start with is obviously we want a database full of homeowners. I mean, until you've got a group of people that you can add value to, you're going to be just continuously trying to one-off and figure out next month who the people are that you're going to build a relationship, start, and hope that they're ready to sell right then. What we want to do is we want to build a funnel that is basically beginning to drive people into your database where we will consistently add value to them so that when the time comes for them, because everybody's time is different, when the time comes right for them, that you're going to be top of mind, have the opportunity to give them to get a chance at presenting what you can do as their listing agent. A lot of times what we're doing, if we do all of these, that is just basically them calling and saying, hey, Jimmy, we're ready to list the house. Can you come over and go over price with us? So the process is pretty simple. We're going to be adding homeowners through circle prospecting, through door knocking, through friends and family that own houses, our past buyers. We're going to think about the people that are in our own neighborhood that we know, their friends, our farm areas, wherever we can get those people that own homes, we want to add them into the database. Once we get them in the database, now's where we can start adding value. The first thing we're going to do fundamentally is we're going to put together an automated system. The more we can automate, the better. We're going to have it where, whether it's through your MLS or your website, that they're going to receive daily updates on properties that are coming on the market that are like their house. They're either coming on the market, going under contract, or sold, depending on the time frame. If we just sold this person something, or they said, hey, we're 5 years away, we're going to have it where it's not daily. It may be weekly. It may even be monthly, depending on their motivation. But we're going to have a consistent flow of properties like theirs that is going out to them in email that gives them the opportunity to know what's going on around them. This is really fundamental. It's literally a less than a minute setup with your MLS or with your website. So from that standpoint, it really gives you the opportunity to systemize that part of the follow-up. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to always have consistent communication with the entire database through an email newsletter once a month at least. Some of our most effective agents are doing one every 2 weeks. But this is going to be basically not just, we've already got the property portion that's going to give them information about the property. This is going to be a mix of some things that are affecting the real estate market, but it's going to be some lifestyle stuff too. So it may be in there. So what we've been doing is we'll do things like 5 best restaurants to get whatever in this community, whatever it is. We'll do, 4 things to do with your kids if it's raining. Whatever it is, it's just lifestyle type pieces for the area. We'll highlight in that newsletter one area of the community that maybe people aren't aware of, or that is a favorite of ours. So we may say our favorite park to watch the sunset is this, or our favorite place to spend a Saturday afternoon is this. Just these are lifestyle type pieces. We're just basically building relationship with these. These are going out once a month through the entire database. They're not specific to that owner. It's just blanket emails that are going out that way. Third thing we're doing is we're utilizing a tool called Homebot. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but Homebot is the most detailed property report I've ever seen. It's a product that through Black Knight, they have 100 data points, and it gives you the capability really to give them the most detailed. Think of it this way. Like if you've got a asset account with a Merrill Lynch or a brokerage account, they send you this complete report each and every month that basically breaks down your cost of what you have in the place, what the value is now, what your equity is, what your tax consequences of selling it are, what you could do with this asset, gives you all of the details and really does a distinct breakdown of what this looks like. That's what Homebot does with this. It will take your house with all the 100 data points they've got. They know how much the mortgage is. So they'll say your equity is this, your mortgage is this. Based on when they bought it, it's going to tell them if you were to refinance now, you could expect your payment to be this. If you refinance to 15 years, it would be that. This is the amount of equity you have, and you could do an equity, and so a lot of times they'll have a partnership with a lender. You don't have to, but then you have the lender that can basically cover any expenses in this. It's very minimal. It's like $35, $40 a month for this, and you can put up to 500 homeowners in this. Detailed report about their place. What I love about it is it's so detailed that they have an open rate of in excess of 65% every single month. So think about that. A lot of people, I get a ton of email. If whatever it is that's getting open 65%, I want that for my people. So it's branded to you, and it gives you the opportunity to see a detailed report about their house.
I want it for myself.
I know. Yeah. It's a big organization. They've been around for a little bit. They were kind of, beforehand, they always had to have a partner that was a lender. So the realtor had to have a partner. The lender paid a little more than the realtor. And they now have the capability that you don't necessarily have to have a lender. You can control all that yourself. So it's been, this has been one of the best tools that we're utilizing to give a very detailed professional report to owners consistently. Do
you know offhand how much it is?
Roughly $35 a month. Again, I think, John, there's certain things like for us, what we do for our agents is we've got a group that we put together so that we probably have a little bit reduced price on that, but it's available out there where you can go for just an individual as well. And as I remember back in the day, I was paying on my own before I did that for the brokerage, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $40 to $45. That's been years ago, so that may have changed, gone up or down, but it's a bargain. Think about that. If I put 500 people in there, it's costing me 50, and let's say I'm putting 400 people in there, it's costing me $400 a month. I mean, literally for 10 cents a month, I'm giving them the most detailed report on their asset that I've ever seen that I know is going to get open, and it's branded for me, and it's constantly asking them, would you like to Jimmy's opinion on this? Would you like for Jimmy to give you an updated idea on the valuation? Because it gives them a valuation, but we all know electronic valuations are only so good, so I mean, they're not going to be perfect. So think about it now.
But they're a little bit more realistic than Zillow.
I will say this, John, you're absolutely right. This is the most accurate that I have seen as far as valuations for anything, or I wouldn't send it out. And so you're absolutely right. It's totally, the Zestimate is wrong. You know what I mean? But no, this is accurate. This is as close as I've seen. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's the best I've seen so far. Okay. So think about that now. Just with putting those people in there, we've already got an automated email that's coming, typically depending on their motivation, daily, weekly, monthly, with properties that are like theirs. We've got a newsletter that's going out to them once a month. And now we've got a detailed report that's coming through Homebot. And every single bit of what we said, the only thing that you got to do is put that newsletter together. Other than that, all this is automated to that point. Okay.
Hey, hold on a second. So with Homebot in particular, the way that I'm looking at it, the way that it seems to be working, because you're now the second or third marketing mind that I respect that has brought up Homebot. Another one is Ji Feng, who is the CMO of Ylopo.
Yep.
And he and Howard Tager really swear by Homebot. They use it inside their lead generation process. I feel like you might be using it differently than they are, and I'm just trying to identify that distinction. You're saying that once you have an actual real estate client, that you're then submitting their name to Homebot, and Homebot is sending them a monthly report. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's exactly right. You put their email address, their address, and their name in there, and it generates the report based on their address. So
okay,
what they're doing is they're utilizing, because it does have that option, basically to run ads of curious about your home value. And that is the mechanism they're using through Homebot to grab those folks and give them that estimated value. And then it automatically continues to brand and send them that going on. So that is a way to use it. That's not what I'm talking about right here, but it's a valuable way to utilize that also. You do have the option as an individual as well. So there are.
I got you. So there's a lead generation option. If you were inspired to write ads like on Facebook or something, you could partner up with Homebot and use them, right?
Jonathan can write those ads for you. I mean, it's pretty, those things need to be done correctly. But what we were talking about in step one, Robert, about building the database of homeowners, that's a great way to leverage that tool in two different ways, not just to nurture the folks that you already have, but to build some additional folks as well.
Sure.
Good point.
How close are we to a break, John?
We got time for Jimmy to go through his next point, I think.
Okay, so
let's go for a break now. Actually,
yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. We're all going to have a little bit of coffee. We suggest you do the same. If you're driving, thank you for listening to us while you're driving. We hope that you're getting an incredible download, and we will see you in a moment. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to episode number 316. We have the incredible Jimmy Burgess with us, Inman contributor, rock star of the real estate world, champion of his local brokerage, responsible for $2 million in growth, has grown his team from 70 to 200 agents. So we're really, really excited to have him. And Jimmy is talking to us about 7 ways to get listings in 2021. And he's been, I think you're on what, point number 1, point number 2?
No, we've been through one
and two.
3. We've been through building the database is number 1. Automating the properties being emailed out is number 2. Number 3 is sending the monthly newsletter to your entire database.
Okay.
Number 4 was leveraging Homebot. And number 5 is the unsolicited CMA. We talked about this last time, didn't we? Where basically this is doing a video unsolicited CMA. So this is where you are actually taking the people that are in your database and you're, without them asking, on a every 6 months, you're sending them an updated valuation through video that basically is something different than they've ever done. 3 points to that. I know if you want to, people can reference back to the previous podcast where we really went in depth with this. I'm not going to go in depth too much on this, but basically you want to have it where it's got your 3 tabs pulled up. First tab is going to be through Google Earth. Punch that, zooms in off from outer space on top of their house. Second part is the comparable sales that have happened walk through those with you on the bottom corner of this, like with either BombBomb or Zoom or Loom or whatever you want to use. And then the third part is their estimated seller's net, just giving them an update. And that simple step there is the one that took me, where I did 72 of those in the fourth quarter of 2018 without anybody asking me for them. And it generated over $11 million worth of listings directly from that one step. So that is something we definitely want in the follow-up system as we're building the value to this group and this database of owners.
So the 72, what time frame was that? So you did 72. I understand what you did. You created a video. You actually, the last time that you met with me and John, you were kind enough to really dive into that in detail. So I remember what you did. How long though did it take you to do 72 of those?
I did one a day for every day that I worked in the fourth quarter of 2018. That's where I had my data there. And so, listen, I mean, it's the fourth quarter. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got a few holidays, so I didn't work every day. I mean, so it was 72 of the days that I worked. I did one every day. It'd take me about 30 minutes. Some days I could do 4 or 5 that were shorter. Some days it would take me a little bit longer, depending on the depth that I was going to go. And when I say I did one every day, I based that on a weekly basis. So, I mean, there's certain days where you just don't have time. So if I got to Saturday and I did not have my 6 for that week or however many days I'd worked that week, I made it up so that when I started on Monday, I had done one a day for every day I worked the week previous. So it took me basically 3 months. It was pretty incredible to see, what an impact it made. And I thought it might have just been a one situation. We're doing this for our brokerage right now. I'm running a big contest right now for the month of November for our agents, where we're just doing it where they're, the person that, because anybody can do this. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new agent and you're doing it for your next door neighbor and testing it out on them, or you're doing this and you're somebody that's done 400 transactions and you got 200 past buyers that you can email these to. Anybody can do these. So what we're doing is we just have it for the month, and the person that does the most, we got $1,000 cash, we got a $500, a $400, $300, $200 cash basically there. And then we are what's today? Today we're doing this is the 11th, and we've already gotten listings from our agents already that started this on the 1st. So we're excited. I mean, this is something that I just believe it's still unique. It's still a value that people will make people stand out. And man, that's what people want right now. They want to know what the value of their house is, and this is a unique way to do it that is going to make you stand out.
Okay, so you email these people. Mm-hmm. Are you using Homebot as part of this 72 things, or it's just like Loom or BombBomb or something, just something where they open up a video and they look at it? And I remember you're using Google Earth, and then you go through a lot of points of value using your MLS. But here's the thing that I kind of missed. I think you're just saying anybody in your database is what you're saying. Yeah. But did you have a warm list? Were these people you'd already done business with? Were they just cold people? Like, who did you select for the 72?
So I started and I made my list before I ever started. And I went through and I made my list based on these things. I wanted people that had mentioned, first I started with people that had mentioned they were going to sell within the next couple of years. I mentioned people that had mentioned that they might have a job transfer in the next couple of years. I went through and talked to my past buyers. I then went down and talked to people that I had met who were homeowners at open houses or that I'd talked to on circle prospecting. Then I went to my farm. You got to understand, when you do 72 of them, there's not a lot of people that have got 72 warm people. So what we're doing right now is we're taking specific neighborhoods in our area along the beach, some of these condos, because it's super easy to do that. You know what I mean? And we're basically utilizing those condos because it's the same floor plan. I mean, they're boxed. So it's like 1101 is the same floor plan as 201, as 301, 401. So we have the ability then to take one email and basically put all the data together on what the value is, record one video to John that owns the first floor, and then on the second floor, do the one for the one that owns the one on the second floor to Robert. And we just record 2 separate videos where it's personalized, but we got all the data already up, so it moves very quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. And you're talking ocean, you're talking condos. What market are you in?
So I'm in a coastal market, so it's a mix. We've got some that are primary residents, but the majority of them are second home, and also that. So if you're curious about where's the low-hanging fruit if you're going to do cold ones, I always tell our agents, start with the out-of-town owners. And that's one way you can get a lot of that information. If you don't have that information, just calling them and saying, hey, just checking in with folks and building database that way with Circle Prospect and say, hey, I'd love to keep in touch. Is email okay with you if I keep in touch that way? Once you've established that phone call, they're in that database. And then you begin to set up the automating the properties. You set them up where they're getting your monthly email newsletter. You leverage and get them set up on Homebot where they're receiving monthly updates on their property. You send them an unsolicited CMA. Now we're taking one conversation, which this is the problem that I see with a lot of agents, is they'll actually go out and prospect, and they may talk to 5 or 6 people that own houses, but the conversation stops right there. Maybe they send them a little note, but they don't get them in their database and have a systemized plan to stay in touch with them where they're the agent of choice when the time comes. It's sickening to me. I can remember those days where I would see people that I'd talked to 3 months ago, and then I would see a sign go up in their yard and be like, God, I was supposed to call them back. Well, this is a way that we can systemize this process, which that then rolls us once we've done the unsolicited CMA. Ultimately, people do business with people they know. So the next step is to every 3 to 6 months. In other words, you're off those. We said 6 months for the video CMA. The off months between that, those are personal phone calls. And those are where we're picking up the phone and we're just saying, hey, just checking in with you guys. Do you guys still love the house? Hey, just checking in. No, I sent the updated valuation a couple months ago. Hope that I'm not overwhelming you with information, but just want to make sure you're getting everything you need. Those are those conversations that are happening twice a year that are wedged in between the 2 CMAs, so that we've got something happening every 6 months that's very personalized. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. John,
Okay.
you've been
No, I'm
off
just
quiet,
letting-
sir.
No, I'm just lapping it up. It's so relaxing having Jimmy as the guest because you've got to do so little work. You just say, here's Jimmy, here's the subject, and off he goes. It's nice to have somebody that can communicate so effectively.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've got you've given us a very, very, very good system for so I loved what you said about leveraging Homebot. I love the follow-up. I love the calls every 6 months. I think these are all brilliant ways to establish and keep a database. However, there's going to be a different quality of lead when you enter them into the database. Anybody that's been a professional salesperson knows this. Like, you've got your neighbor, as you said, somebody you see every day and you say hi to, and that's probably just by association a fairly warm lead. Then you could do something like buy the email addresses or addresses with names on it from a lead provider and get the names of every single person in a target farm, but they don't know you. They've never met you. You've never you've never mailed them, nothing, but you do have their information. So you could theoretically enter them into your database. So you were saying lifestyles, best restaurants, newsletters, but I feel like you kind of went really, really fast when you said, how are you building the database in the first place?
Yep.
Because to me as a salesperson, what I'm most curious about is how do I get a reasonably decent stream of qualified leads into my database? I think you've done a great job at telling us how to nurture them, but how do we get them there? Like, how do we get enough there? Like, you're right, 72, that sounds like an incredibly big number to me. Of like, oh, I've got 72 warm leads, and I'm just going to like pop off this video. Great, Jimmy, fantastic. Where the hell did you find 72 of these people?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. And man, I'm gonna tell you, Robert, I think you nailed it, because this is the question I think where people get stuck on. And let me just say this: 1 of 2 ways is the way you're going to get those leads: sweat or debt. Are you either going to buy some leads and begin to nurture those leads, which is a slower process, like what we're talking about? I mean, you can take those cold leads and put them in this. You will begin to see, because, you'll get reports on your unsolicited CMAs. You'll see how many times they're opened and viewed. You're going to see with Homebot, you get all the data of where they went on there. You're going to get an understanding of how many times they opened it, how many times they went back to it. So you're going to begin to see people heating up if you're doing the cold. This is the way I built my warm database, though. And this is the sweat part. And don't let anybody fool you. If you're going to build this business right, there is going to be a time. I've got this principle, man. It started when I was like 20 23 years old, 22 years old, coming straight out of college. I went to work for Merrill Lynch. And there was this old broker there, and he said, Jimmy, you're probably not going to be the smartest one here. And he was right. I knew that. You know what I mean? I'm 22 years old. You know, I'm then walking to this brokerage. I got a bad fitting suit. You know what I mean? And so I didn't want to wear a suit. And so next thing I know, he says, here's how you can make a living, though, and really thrive in this. I just need you to turn these locks, either in the morning being the first person here or the last person to leave. And to this day, this morning, I turned them dang locks. Last night, I turned the locks. Listen, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be smarter than me. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be possibly, think out of the box better than me, but they aren't going to outwork me. So when we get to how am I going to build this database, I'll tell you how I did it. I picked up the phone and I just circle prospected. And now let me tell you some examples of how we're doing that effectively right now. A house sells. A house goes under contracts. It doesn't have to be your listing. House goes under contract in one day, multiple offers. You know it's multiple offers. You've heard it, or you missed out on it. You had a buyer that missed out. I'm taking and doing old school. The reason why I called it circle prospecting is in the old days, I didn't have the database on there. I had a map, and I would take and I would mark the house, and I would do a circle around it for the 20 houses that were closest to it, the 10 that were on both sides of it on its side of the street, and the 10 across the street. And I just pick up the phone and I would call them and I'd say, hey, this is Jimmy Burgess. Just wanted to let you know that the house 3 doors down came on the market the other day. Not sure if you saw that or not. It went under contract with multiple offers. We're at a place where, we have a lot of people that missed out on this that may be willing to pay a premium. Have you heard of any of your neighbors that might be willing to sell? We're just trying to help meet some of this demand. And then just be quiet. And typically they say, no, I haven't really heard of anybody. And then they want to know, well, how much was it listed for? Or they'll have a question, or maybe they just get off, and that's fine too. But then that conversation just leads to, okay, great. Well, listen, I'd be the worst realtor ever if I didn't at least ask you if there's a price where you consider selling. You'd be amazed what you'll find when you get out there and you get in the water, you'll catch some waves. The other thing I did is I didn't have an objective of listing their house. I just wanted to generate a conversation. And my goal when I did it was to get email addresses, because I knew that if I got their email address and I'd had a personal conversation with them and I plugged them into this system, there was going to come a time when I was going to get some business from them, whether it be a referral or whether it be something else.
So makes a ton of sense for me, because for everybody listening, Jimmy is now deep in my home field. This is all we've turned this around. So I'm an inbound marketer, which is a lot of attraction marketing. However, there are really, really beautiful synergies and sync ups between inbound and outbound. And this is one of the sync ups that you're talking about right now, because your inbound is about providing enough value that people want to reach out to you, that they're inspired to reach out to you, that's what they do. And what you just described is the way that I would make this sales call. I would never, ever, ever look at a list of 100 people and say, I want to call them and sell them something. Not ever. I don't care what you give me. Never. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a list of 100 people and say, God, I hope I can get into 100 good conversations. That's it. Get to know them. Yeah. And get to know them, because if I get to know them, if I have a good conversation with them, and if that conversation has something to do with whatever product or service I'm representing, and they seem to have some need now or in the future, chances are strong that a real, honest, integrity-filled conversation with maybe a couple of points of compatibility between you and their personality, they're going to remember you, because people just don't do it. It's crazy how rarely people experience this legitimate contacting, connection-based marketing strategy, which is all I heard you just say is, hey, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to try and connect. Yes, I'm going to talk about their home. I'm not really expecting that they're necessarily going to list right now, but if they ask me a couple questions, I get a chance to demonstrate my expertise. Now that, to me, what you just described is a beautiful person to put into a database, because you have a very good chance of them remembering you.
Think about it this way, Robert. I always, the way that I teach people is I say, prospecting is like dating. The thing that I'm trying to do is to create an opportunity in a conversation that might lead to a relationship. First off, let me say this. If you do call people and they want to do business with you immediately, it's about like going to the bar and finding the girl that's willing to go home with you immediately. Is that really the girl you want to go home with? You know what I'm saying? So think of it this way. Just like you said, Robert, the whole goal is to build and have a conversation that gives them the ability to give you their information in a way that now I can follow up with a systemized plan of action that's going to add value to them in a way that moves them from now they know me, liking me, and then they begin to trust me. And trust takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's a process. It's not something that happens, immediately. And if it does, it doesn't have any roots, and it's going to wither the first time that a storm comes along.
Right. Another thing that I agree with. So we're gonna Jimmy, are you willing to stay with me and John for just a little while longer?
Absolutely. I got the seventh point I got to bring to you too.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the podcast part of the Mail Right Show today. We've been with the amazing Jimmy Burgess. In a second, I'm going to give Jonathan and Jimmy the opportunity to share their contact details with you. If you're driving, don't stop, don't pull over, just keep driving. We'll be here in a recorded way when you're ready to take our information down. Jimmy, how can people find you?
They can find me through YouTube. Just go to Jimmy Burgess. We've got about 250 different videos on there for training for agents, and the Real Estate Sales Podcast, or on Instagram. So thank you.
All right. Awesome. Jonathan, how could people find you?
I'll just go over to the MailRight website. We've got some great information on there. All the videos from our past interviews. It's a training course in its own right, Robert.
Awesome. And if anybody is interested in looking up your show leading voice, Robert Newman, you can find me at inboundrem.com. I've been doing real estate SEO for a really long time, and I've shared a lot of information there about real estate systems and doing SEO and things like that. So thanks, everybody. One last thing. Go ahead and smash the leave us a review on the podcast, wherever you heard us, wherever you're hearing us right now, however you downloaded us. There's probably a way for you to review the show. Anybody that takes any time at all to tell us what they think of the show, what we could do better, what you liked, we would really appreciate it. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye. All right. Welcome back to episode number 316. We're now in the bonus content, and we saved a point specifically for this part of the show. We're with the amazing Jimmy Burgess, who is talking to us about 7 ways to get listings, or a system to get listings, really. That is more like it. In 2021, we've covered points 1 through 6 of an article that you wrote for Inman. We're now on point number 7. Jimmy, take it away.
See, I mean, that was like a cliffhanger that we didn't even mean to do. So that worked out perfect. But yeah, so let me just say this. Obviously, we talked about this. It is all relationship based. Everything we're doing is to stay in front of people and add value in a way that gets them to a place where they're like, you know what? That's my guy. That's my girl. I want to go to work with them. And the last part of that is just staying top of mind all the time. AdWorks, believe it or not, has a sphere of influence campaign. What this looks like is you can load up email addresses, names of the people that are in your database that are owners that you've got in this system, and it will retarget them wherever they go online with a static ad off to the right. So for pennies a day, you're going to get multiple impressions. Doesn't matter wherever they go. If they go to CNN or Fox, if they go to check out ESPN or the Wall Street Journal, it's going to follow them around with your messaging right up front. So now think about this. Gary Keller used to say, what is it? He says 33 touches or something. They're going to get with this somewhere in the neighborhood of roughly 100 touches per year. You will be top of mind, I promise you. Every single one of these, other than just like the AdWords, which is just image ads just to brand you in front of them, every single one of these is adding value to them in some way as a homeowner. There's nothing here that is asking them for anything. It's absolutely just giving. And when we give, I promise we're going to receive. So that's the 7-step plan. Build the database, set up automated follow-up, add value, and you're going to generate more listings.
Excellent. So John, you haven't had to do much heavy lifting, but I'm gonna leave the last 5 minutes of the show on your weary shoulders.
Right. I've got a slightly different question for you, Jimmy, and I'd be just interested in your point of view about Zillow and what's happened to iBuyer. And obviously you've got Open Door and you've got Redfin. Was you really surprised when the news hit the industry of what has happened to Zillow and iBuyer? And it seems a bit of a bloodbath, really. What's your views about when the story hit the industry?
I think we're at a place in the cycle where whether it be Zillow or whether it be individual agents, that there's been a lot of cash in the marketplace. And what can happen sometimes, I think Zillow is a great case study for agents. I'll give you an example. And the reason I say that is that they focused on things they were not great at. And they tried to do things that they didn't know a lot about. What they do really well, whether I like it or not, is they do generate and provide for agents leads that are doing business. I mean, we don't have anybody that we have that doesn't have an ROI on this Zillow spend. Now, some get higher and some get lower. It's exorbitant price, and they're going to continue to drive the prices up on you until you say no. But they do a good job of generating leads for certain people that do well with it. What they didn't do well is to start setting up and building and buying things and utilizing cash to basically recklessly try to interrupt Open Door, some of these others, and jump into the business. Open Door we're literally, I think I saw I just saw a brief kind of their quarterly report from their CEO, and they're still confident they're doing the right things because they did not.
It's madness because if you look at the track record of Open Door, it's just bled cash. Mm-hmm. It's just bleeding money. Mm-hmm. If they can't make money in the past 18 months, whenever are they ever going to make any money out of flipping housing?
Yeah, and I will say this too, like we were saying about this being a case study for the agents. Do what you do. Don't get out over your skis trying to do something that you're not great at. If you're an agent that does extremely well with inbound marketing, do inbound marketing and do it continuously, get better and better. Spread out and try some things, small things, but do what you do. Me, I was good on the phone. I love talking to people. So I'd circle prospected for 2 hours every day, built my database. And then till I got to a point where there was a tipping point where I had enough people in my database, I didn't have to keep circle prospecting. So whatever it is you do that. When we're looking at these different things that are in the industry, I think it's just like everything else. When new interrupters, so to speak, come into the market, some are going to get it right, some are going to get it wrong. Ultimately, the market is going to work it all out. The problem that Zillow's got right now is the market just said, "Oh, y'all want to do this," and it backhanded them in a cash bleeding manner. It backhanded them. So from that standpoint, I just think it's a good case study for everything that's going on. For me, ultimately, as long as I build relationships, all this other noise that's around is going to take care of itself. But because I've got these deeper relationships and I'm building and focusing on these deeper relationships, that's going to withstand you no matter what this market does, good, bad, or indifferent.
And to finish off, Robert will know this. Over the history of this podcast, I've been reasonably critical of Redfin and their business model. I'm still not I know, unlike the previous, Zillow's still a profitable company. We've got to be realistic, even after the massive loss they're going to take. Open Door, it's just bled money from the beginning. Redfin, the past couple of years have been very welcome for Redfin because it was not doing very well until the last couple of years. I'm very critical still of their business model because it doesn't make much sense to me. It was a failing business model. Are you prepared to? What do you think of what I've just said?
Yeah, I will say this. Typically, my job has been to stay focused on what we do for our agents, but I will give you my opinion. I think that there are models that will work for everyone. I think that not every model is going to work, though. And so whether that be that they figure this out, because, there are portions of their business that We've got some agents that are utilizing, Redfin for lead generation and paying them the referral fee that is extremely profitable for Redfin. So, the question is, the model's not going to work the way they got it. They've got to make some adjustments, obviously, as we all do throughout time. But the question is just going to be, are they going to be, and I think this is with any leadership, are you going to be humble enough to pull the plug? I'll say this about Zillow. I think it was a bad move, but I will say this, to watch them now rip this Band-Aid off instead of just continuing this iBuyer and letting it bleed is pretty dang impressive. I will give them credit for that because, from that standpoint, I saw where they portfolioed 2,000 of their homes to a residential leasing company yesterday. So it's like, they're like, you know what, we got this problem. We're going to rip this Band-Aid off instead of just peeling it off real slow. So whether it be at Redfin, whether it be at Compass, wherever it may be, is the leadership team going to be humble enough and agile enough to adjust when they see areas they're going to fail in? That's something that we've tried to do, and personally, locally, is that, listen, we're going to try a lot of things, but if it's not working, we're going to be slow to input and hire things, and we're going to be quick to fire them, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Jonathan? I mean, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but.
No, totally understand.
Yeah.
I think we've taken enough of Jimmy's time up, Robert.
We have. But I'm going to close the show with a statement because you know what? You're right. You talk about Reddit and Zillow and all those other companies a lot. I don't. And so I want to add my thoughts here when we have Jimmy specifically on the show. Here's what my opinion is, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that one or two of you that actually care. I have for a long time thought that I am a technologist and I believe strongly in technology. But I believe that technology only carries us as far as the value that it provides. In terms of real estate agents, Jimmy is a perfect example of a local real estate brokerage that, in my opinion, Zillow will resoundingly, and Reddit and everybody else is going to resoundingly lose to over and over and again, for the simple reason that he's providing way more value than those services are. It's not that I'm taking shots at these companies. It's not that I'm volunteering opinions about management decisions. I'm literally saying that whenever you're talking about a sales or service company, the person who provides the most value to the consumer base is always, full stop, going to be the person that wins. Technology makes the journey between point A and Z easier. If you make it easy enough, some people stop in the middle of the journey, sit on a bench, and do a little business. But that isn't the average consumer when it comes to homes. People take these decisions seriously. Does Zillow get business? Yes. Do they get good leads? Yes. Do I feel like they get the top of the market? Not usually. I'm not saying that they never do, but I'm saying that a well-seasoned consumer who sold a home or two is very not as likely to do business with Zillow. They're probably going to look for a local service rep that they have a relationship with, just so that they make sure that they're not losing out on an opportunity to make 5 or 10,000, or even more important, that some people don't care about the money. What they care about is, do I feel comfortable in this major transaction? And there ain't no way in the world that they're going to feel comfortable with a stranger that they've never met, that they don't have a relationship with, off Zillow or Trulia. They're going to walk into the relationship uncomfortable. They're going to stay uncomfortable unless the rep works incredibly hard to build up the kind of relationship that Jimmy's talking about through a short sales process, which is very hard to do. I'm not saying it's possible. I'm just saying it's hard. What would be easier is if you already had 2 years worth of touches from somebody, a couple of phone calls, and then when you are ready to do a transaction, you walk into it mind at ease, prepared to give your trust to somebody, less likely to build up quick resentments or be nervous inside the transaction, super critical of things that are happening. It's going to be better for the service provider. It's going to be better for the customer. That's my thoughts. So, guys, thank you for listening to it, the two, Jimmy and Jonathan. I really appreciate it. And tune in the next time at however you found us. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor, smash that like button. Let's break the algorithm. Let's give the show a little bit of a boost. And let's, for those of you who are listening or watching, please drop some comments and thank Jimmy for his participation.
That's great. See you soon, folks.
Nice.
Bye.